Ron DeSantis is going to be doing his upcoming campaigning from firmly underneath the wheels of a bus, specifically the Murdoch bus that they are throwing him under because they apparently are not feeling his candidacy anymore. And you can see that on the way that he's being treated on Fox News, as well as print media controlled by this incredibly wealthy and influential conservative family. So it's just examples of how the tenor of the way they treat Ron DeSantis has changed over the past few weeks. You have him facing noticeably tougher questions, which we have covered on the show in interviews with two Fox News hosts, Will Cain and Maria Bartiromo, who pressed him on his anemic poll numbers and early campaign struggles. A recent editorial in the Wall Street Journal criticized a tough immigration bill that Mr. DeSantis signed into law in May. And of course, they chose to run that. There's a million op-eds they could have chosen to run. They did that one. And the New York Post, which hailed the governor as the future on its front page last year, has covered his lagging poll numbers, as well as the backlash to a video his campaign shared that was condemned as homophobic, which we have, of course, also covered a few times on the show. So that's sort of like, you would expect to see this sort of thing if the Murdochs had decided, you know what, I don't think this is a guy, he doesn't have the juice, he's not gonna take down Trump. But they're also very personally making clear their frustrations with Ron DeSantis. So he is voicing his doubts, Rupert Murdoch specifically, in private discussions and calls. There were like 6 different sources for this reporting, by the way. At times wondering if a DeSantis, quote, comeback is possible at this point, and I understand their concerns. The concerns are more specific too, though. So Murdoch has privately winced at DeSantis's nonstop cultural grievance strategy, arguing that it's being executed sloppily. That's like my 10th biggest issue with it. I think the fact that it's wildly immoral and dangerous and is getting people killed is worse, but sure, it's also sloppy. Murdoch's complaints lately have centered on how he feels DeSantis often seems too awkward in his public presentation and in his attempts to connect with the American voter. I think that's an understatement. One Fox insider, by the way, said the Murdochs are transactional and can smell a loser a mile away. That smell, rotten chocolate pudding. Francesca, what do you think?
I mean, I'm just like, it's funny to me. It's yeah, man. Yeah, you bet on the wrong guy, but like, and again, this is an eternal debate of would we prefer a DeSantis? I am of the camp that says I am actually not more scared of Ron DeSantis, and I think his campaign is proof of that. The guy is deflating. Quicker than a Chinese spy balloon. I don't know, whatever. Quicker than I can't say that. I'm topical from 2 months ago. But yeah, look, here's what I will say though. Murdoch, if you really wanted to inflate a dude, you know how to do it. If you really wanted to give him some like unfettered airtime, you could easily do that. So to me, it says that the Murdochs wanted to support DeSantis, but they didn't really want to go all in. Because if they wanted to go all in, endless town halls, endless appearances, endless sort of like, whatever, exposés about his wife and his whole family and how great they are. They could prop him up if they wanted to, but they don't really want to, it seems. It seems like they don't want to give him that much. It's like, okay, well, look, if he's already doing well, we'll jump on board and we low key support him. But I mean, I'm curious, John, how are they gonna manage this walking into the 2024 election without, having burned Trump? I mean, are they gonna just come back to the Trump trough like everybody else will?
Well, look, I think that your point about them not wanting to go all in definitely indicates a concern that they might have to do that. You'd go all in on someone if you knew that you weren't gonna have to go with Trump, or if you weren't worried about like going against Trump. They are still obviously worried about that. I think that the Murdochs are worried about that because they genuinely don't want Trump as president in comparison to other right wingers. But also they think, I guess, that it's bad for Fox News in theory. By the way, in terms of how they could go all in, they could just go all in covering Ron DeSantis's insane culture wars. His xenophobic genocidal campaign against LGBTQ people. They could do that. Some of their hosts do. It doesn't seem like that, but it doesn't seem like that's what the Murdochs ideally want to do. I think they are really immorally tolerant of that sort of thing, but it's not their bag, baby, I guess is how I'd say, in comparison to like Jesse Waters is totally happy to do a Gutfeld and all that. But they do have an answer, by the way, to your question, which was not a rhetorical question. I went off on rhetorical questions in my pre-show. I hate them and they need to end. But anyway, the answer is apparently Glenn Youngkin. Mr. Murdoch privately has been telling people that he still wants the Virginia governor to enter the race. And the thing is, like, Glenn Youngkin won in a state that was more purple than some of these others, I guess, certainly Florida right now.
Yep.
He is seen as more reasonable, even though I will remind you, he has been perfectly happy to do not only just the right-wing anti-worker stuff and all that, but also a good amount of this culture war stuff too. But he's also, like, am I wrong? Is he one of the most boring human beings living in this country? Like, could he be? Is he not Jeb? Are we sure that he's not Jeb, actually?
Yeah, he
like
might
Jeb
just be
with
Jeb.
a Mid-Journey mask.
Yeah, you just like rearrange the face a little bit. I mean, most politicians are Mr. Potato Heads. You just like change out the eyebrows, and it's like that's pretty much the same. Old white guy. I don't think Youngkin's a bad choice necessarily, but again, I haven't really seen him speak very much. So you might be very right that like, I mean, there's a reason we haven't seen anything from him. I guess I just think it is. Look, you're Fox News. What do you think's gonna sell harder? A sort of middling Republican who doesn't make it into the White House, or even makes it into the White House, another 4 years of Trump, or 4 years of DeSantis where you have to pretend that everything's coming up, roses or whatever, or 4 more years of Biden where you can just hit him and hit him and hit him and be the beleaguered opposition and talk about how everyone's coming for your, whatever, your jobs, your money, your home, your all that. You can talk about crime and just blame everything on Biden. Again, something he inherited from Donald Trump. Like, it's actually more profitable to be in said opposition. I mean, we saw, for better or worse, the proliferation of a lot of liberal outlets, podcasts, media, whatnot, when Trump came into power. We see sort of that cold, calculated play of like, I'd rather lose and then fundraise off of the opposition and fundraise off of this loss.
Yeah, 100%. I will throw out my probably really bad suggestion to the Murdochs, which is, if you're gonna back someone as an alternative to Trump, you obviously want them to be super pro-business. That's all you really care about, let's be clear. But you also need them to have a chance of taking down Trump. So why not back Chris Christie? I'm not saying he has a good chance of taking him down, but at least he'll try. He'll throw some punches. Is Glenn Youngkin really gonna criticize Trump? I don't know that he has up to this point. I'm pretty sure he was interviewed, was it about the classified documents or something? And he like was tripping over himself to not criticize Trump. It's the same weak sauce, milquetoast strategy that a lot of these other Republicans are using. Why would you expect that in the case of Glenn Youngkin, it would work?
It's the line they're trying to walk, and I think you're absolutely right. Glenn Youngkin's like his saving grace is that he hasn't come down hard on one side or another. Was the election rigged or not? Does he believe Trump should be president or not? Like, and he's just sort of rid the line and flown under the radar. And if he runs for president, he will have to clarify and ergo, alienate that base.
Yeah, 100%. By the way, as we go to our first break, I will let you know that in a recent Morning Consult poll, DeSantis was back down to 17%, the lowest that he has ever registered on their polls. So not only is he not making up ground, but he's losing it from a few months ago.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.